You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Let's bring in Grace Nweke now. Grace, thanks for holding and having a chat to us. How long have you been thinking about this?
Thank you. It's been something I've been thinking about for a wee while now. I was definitely feeling like I needed a change up just in both lifestyle and in my netball, and I guess that life experience was a big move, but it was just really hard to figure out how it would all play out and where would suit me best.
And how did you land on New South Wales? What were the main factors that tipped it in their favour?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was knowing that they needed a shooter, so there was availability for me. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And I guess having that relationship with Bryony in the past, earlier this year at Jan Tour, it made it a lot easier to kind of feel comfortable in approaching them and seeing if there was room for me.
Were there times during the decision-making process where you were leaning towards not going?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I ebbed and flowed for most of, I'd say, the better part of the past 2 months. Really just, I guess, understanding the landscape and the implications of signing and what that would mean for my Silver eligibility, as well as, I guess, just the what it means to move. I've never lived away from home out of Auckland, and so just taking on such a big lifestyle change, I was very wary of the implications of that. But I feel like with the support of my coaches and the people around me, I was able to make an informed decision.
Well, they do say that Sydney is just a bigger version of Auckland, so I think you should be okay. How much did the fact that you can't play for New Zealand next year factor into your thinking? Yeah,
it factored in massively. I think I love being in the black dress. I love being a Silver Fern, and so I was really upset that was the way that it had to play out. But I respect the decision making there, and so that's kind of what kept me from really, biting the bullet on the decision. It was just understanding that opportunity cost and whether that was worth it or not. And I think it's easy for me to sign now, knowing that I can still play at the end of this year, but it won't really hit or become real for me until this time next year if that rule remains the same.
So do you think there might be some flexibility on it once you get over there? Do you think there could be further discussion?
I mean, selfishly, I hope so. I hope that Netball New Zealand allows not just myself but all Silver Fern players to give Aussie a go. But in the same breath, I can understand why they've done it, and we need to continue to grow the game in New Zealand and keep our pathway strong. And I feel that it's hard to comment on what they're going to do and what the future holds and with that rule change. But me personally, I really do hope I can still be eligible next year.
Was it just a hard no when you talked about it initially with Netball New Zealand?
Yeah, it was more the understanding that I didn't meet the eligibility criteria. I've played 30 caps with the Silver Ferns, and all players who have been given an exemption had played at least 100, and that was made very clear that was a requirement. And so I understood very early on that I would not be eligible, and so that was kind of in a way that was a hard no. I just understood that I just wasn't going to meet the criteria.
Is that a bit gutting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my why is quite complicated, and one of the big factors for me was just wanting to be a better player. I feel like the Netball World Cup's in 2027, and between now and then, I want to be the best in the world, and I know that to do that, I have to challenge myself and grow my game in a really fast-paced environment. And I think having that change to Sydney and new players and staff and facilities and culture will only grow me as a person, but also will massively shift my game in a way that I feel that I'll be better able to compete against the best defenders in the world come World Cup. And so I'm doing this to be a better Silver Fern. I'm doing this to be a better person, and that's kind of what's driving me. And so I guess to have the results of that move be my ineligibility, it's quite tough. But again, the opportunity cost, so hopefully it kind of works itself out.
Yeah, well, I think everybody listening would be nodding their head in agreement with you. As you say, you'll no doubt come back a better player, a more rounded player against different defenders. How much do you think you'll improve as a netballer by playing in the Australian competition?
Yeah, I'm really confident that I'm going to get better. There are times in ANZ where, we have some hard games, we have some not so hard games, and I think sometimes I get a bit comfortable or a bit casual, and I've been here the past 6 years, and I feel like I've done so much in this league, but I really want to be able to, be out of my comfort zone and really have to shift and learn quickly. I want to be showed up, and I want to have defenders on my back, players around me pushing me, and I feel that being over there will really do that for me. I feel like having a new coaching staff and that change of environment will really bring out the best in my game.
That is amazing self-awareness, because you could easily just say, you know what, I'm fine here. We just won the trophy. Everything's going well. What drives that, Grace? Have you always been this motivated?
Yeah, I feel I always have. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very critical of my performances, and I know that I want to be the best in the world. And so to do that, you have to play the best in the world. You have to be in challenging environments. And so I've always, had quite high expectations. And I feel like maybe this season, I think with the injuries in and out, I've kind of been in a bit of a lull or been in a bit of a rut with my game. And I really just want to get to a place where I'm just exposed and I'm able to learn. And I read a quote the other day that said, "Comfort is suicide." I think I am just comfortable, and I don't want to be.
Amazing. And definitely just 1 year. There's a Com Games, we think, in 2026. Is this definitely just for next year, or is it just for next year at the moment?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I signed for 1 year, and I'm just taking everything one campaign at a time. I'm actually got my focus on the Silver Ferns season coming up, and then when that's done, I'll shift my focus to the Swifts for 2025, and hopefully a successful campaign there. And then whatever happens in there, I'm just going to see what the landscape looks like in terms of eligibility and personnel and, where my body's at, where my game is at, and then come back with a new, understanding of what my next steps look like.
Is it nice just to have the news out there? It's been out there for about 24 hours now. Is it nice now that just everybody knows? Yeah,
absolutely. It felt like this big dark cloud over me in a way of not being able to tell people who, I love and who support me want the best for me. So it just felt a bit like I was lying to people or just spinning on some big news. So it feels really good to be able to just celebrate it, I guess, with my team last night and just enjoy the moment a bit more. So yeah, it's nice to have it out.
I just think it's great. I think it's a credit to you that you've made this decision to jump out of your comfort zone, which you easily could have not done. We wish you all the best. Obviously, you've got the Silver Ferns campaign back into this year, which we'll enjoy watching you play in. But all the best over in Sydney next year, Grace, and we can't wait to have you back after that.
Yeah, thanks so much. Me too.
Thanks for joining us, Grace. Grace Nweke there, off to the New South Wales Swifts for next season. So she'll play for the Silver Ferns against England and Australia in the next couple of months or so. Then, at some stage, I guess, late in the year or early in the new year, head across to Australia, play for the Swifts. Interesting to hear her say that she hopes that the eligibility rules might change. I'm sure that Dame Nolene Taurua would be saying to Matt Winneray, the chair of the board, hey, can you throw us a bone here? She's so good. And there's really no other shooter at her level here. But I guess once you do that, you open up this can of worms, don't you? The Pandora's box. It's almost an identical situation to New Zealand rugby. Doesn't matter who you are, you have to be playing Super Rugby to play for the All Blacks. That is exactly Netball New Zealand stance, and in a way you have to admire it. That they're sticking to their guns even when their best player, or one of their most valuable players has taken up this opportunity and therefore is ruled out for next year. I think I would worry more if it was the year after and then the year after that with the Com Games and the World Cup. Remember that Grace Nweke was ruled out quite early on in the last World Cup with an injury. So clearly she still, covets wearing that black dress a lot. And so if it is just the 1 year, then so be it. But it's an interesting little tester for Netball New Zealand. They've entered into the world where the All Blacks and New Zealand rugby have been for a while now. Hasn't really been that prevalent with the Silver Ferns. But I think Grace Nweke is a great test case for them. It'll be interesting to see how they react to it.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.